Well, my name is Rush Darwish. I am running for United States Congress for Illinois District 3. I am running because I am deeply concerned. I think we have a situation that I've watched my whole life of everyday people feeling that they're ignored or left out of the political system. And the reason is that politicians on the local level and on the federal level, a good portion of them don't really care about everyday people. And we have seen so many things happen in our world, especially in my district, where things just don't seem to get done. So I think the time has come for new energy, new voice. And I really do believe the time has come where everyday people are the ones who are solving the everyday problems. And that's why I'm running for Congress. My parents were activists in the early 90s. My dad was working with various charities and organizations. And, I was the kid who used to go to all the events, and I got to learn more about the Palestinian struggle. And also, I lived in Palestine as a kid.
Mm.
So at a young age, I was exposed to how an inequality looks like, how an injustice looks like, how people are not treated fairly, and Palestinian people were not treated with kindness, love, and respect. So for me, this is something that I learned at a young age. So these are the type of qualities that I want to take with me into running for office. Is that we need people in office who understand how an injustice looks like, how inequality looks like. So for me, it's important to have this, and these are the type of people we need running for office. When you take this step to run for office, I have a duty to represent everyone equally and fairly. Now, the community I come from, the Palestinian Arab American community, it's the largest Palestinian community in the country. And by and large, this is a community that feel that they're left out. They feel that they're not included in the process. The current Congressman Dan Lipinski has done a horrible job in his 15 years in office with connecting with these Palestinian Americans. So my job is to make sure that we empower the people in our community, being a Palestinian American, but also, what we've learned in going door to door, it's just not Palestinians who are feeling like they're left out. A lot of people feel that the government doesn't work for them. So I do have a mission, and the mission is big, and that's to bring new people into the system. And this is not something that'll happen overnight, but our job and my mission is to bring people into the political system. And it starts with making sure that we register a lot of people to vote. We have to start getting the Palestinian community and all people to understand that everything begins with making sure that their voice is heard through voting. I've spent the last 11 years working with various organizations, one in particular called the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. I founded a team 10 years ago called Team Palestine for PCRF, and I bring this up only because this past Sunday, 70 members from around the world ran the Chicago Marathon on behalf of PCRF, and this is a group that deals with sending doctors from all over the world into the West Bank to make sure to operate and treat children who don't have access to medical care. So for me, my standpoint is without question on the issue of the humanitarian crisis that the Palestinians face. And when we talk about an inequality and an injustice, this is where my standpoint is that we must make sure that Palestinians have a right to health care. They have a right to cross into their town in West Bank and are able to go to Friday prayer in Jerusalem. They should have a right to work and to be employed and not be restricted to just their town. So for me, this is what my vision is. We have to make sure, which is actually very similar to how some people even feel here in the United States, is that the Palestinians are, the struggle begins with the humanitarian crisis. And before we're really even able to get into what the land situation is or how you cut the land up. I don't think we're there yet. The number one thing that we have to start addressing is the humanitarian crisis that the Palestinians face every day. And my mission as somebody who's running for Congress is to make sure that we bring this issue to the forefront. And before we talk about anything, it starts with the Palestinians being equal. And we cannot talk about anything else until we address this issue. What I would support, number one, is we need legislation, or what I would advocate for is legislation to ensure that Palestinians have equal access to medical care. Once again, where I have most of my work and invested my time is children from all over the West Bank are not able to leave their towns to have access to medical care. And that would be legislation, I think, that's important, because this is a humanitarian crisis. This is legislation, to me, that would be something very important. The second thing would be employment access. We have right now a lot of Palestinians who are not able to leave their village because they are restricted the ability to leave. There's either a wall that's separating them, or they don't have a permit. So once again, legislation needs to be created that allows Palestinians access to work. So these are the two major criteria that I would advocate for in Washington, D.C., because working and having health is not just a human right, it's a basic right. We're the first campaign in our district to come out and say we fully support BDS. And this comes from the standpoint of an American who understands what the First Amendment means. It is our right to protest when we see an injustice. Martin Luther King was also somebody who stood for an injustice. Nelson Mandela is a person who stood for an injustice. And here in the United States, it is a right to stand up when you see something wrong. So I will always support any group, no matter where you're from, Palestinian or no matter where you're from around the world, to stand up when you see an injustice and boycott. It's unfortunate, but we're active on social media, pushing some of our policy and even some of the basic campaign, messaging where we're at and the people we're seeing. And there unfortunately has been an overwhelming response of people who do post just, negative racist type comments about where I'm from and my religion being a Muslim. And this is a sad reality that we live in. But at the end of the day, I'm a proud American. And this is why it is more important now more than ever that people who are Palestinian or Muslim, Arab American, we must run for office no matter what level, because this is how you defeat this hate. And what I hope for is not to point my fingers at those people and call them bad names. I want these people to learn who I am, learn what I stand for. And I think ultimately what I expect and hope for is that these people who are saying these horrible, racist comments on social media will eventually learn that I am an American who, has their views and perceptions as to what we need to do to make America better, and judge me by the content of my character, not by my color of my skin. I think the message is this, is that Palestinians, not just in my district, Illinois District 3, but from all around the country, need to rise up. And we must be engaged on a civic level. And it begins with making sure to vote. But also, we have to start paying attention to the candidates that are running in the local races. Understand who they are, what their standpoint is. And this is the most important thing. We need to stop being one issue voters. Know their policy, the candidates who are running in these offices. Know their policy on healthcare, economy, and make sure that you're always thinking about your family when you are going to go to the voting booth. And I think that the moment the Palestinian community takes this next step, we're going to be a real force to be reckoned with, because then we'll understand the power that we really have And that's what really makes America great, is that we do have an opportunity. There is a window for our community to make a difference. And once we understand this, big things are going to come.